Let's just continue the conversation we're having with Alan Dershowitz and also with Dr. Mitchell Bard here talking about Israel, the upcoming elections, and what's been proposed recently in the Knesset. Gentlemen, we've both been talking, we talked in the earlier segment about the upcoming elections. Dr. Bard, is this a situation that conceivably could cost Netanyahu his government and his job as prime minister?
Well, Israeli elections are unpredictable, but given the current alignment of the parties on the right and the left, in all likelihood, Netanyahu will remain in power, but he will have a different coalition behind him, most likely bringing in the religious parties, which he was able to keep out of this present coalition. On the other hand, there is a movement to try to bring a middle-of-the-road party and middle-of-the-road coalition together that might unseat Netanyahu, but at the moment they don't have sufficient coalition partners to have a realistic chance to win. And on the left, the same problem. They really have a very narrow group of parties that are willing to support them. And in the end, Netanyahu still holds, I think, the best cards.
Alan, do you agree with that?
Well, I agree that it's unpredictable. The Israeli political system has been a mess from the very beginning. There are too many parties. There's too much coalition building. Elections are almost never referendums on either how a prime minister has done in the past or what the country is looking for in the future. It's much more about deal-making and coalition building. Israel tried for a while to have a more presidential system of electing the prime minister, and that didn't work. So nobody should read too much into election results. Obviously, my own preference, the preference I think many American supporters of Israel, would be to have a more centrist government that was much more open to making peace and having a two-state solution. So I'm hoping for that outcome. I myself never get involved in domestic Israeli politics, but I'm a big supporter of the two-state solution of the peace process. But, it's very important not to focus too much attention or too much demonization on Israel. For example, this nationality bill. I'm going to England in the next couple of days, and when I'm in England, I am in an Anglican country where the Queen of England is the defender of the faith. There is an established church in England. Until relatively recently, Jews were not allowed to become prime minister. When Disraeli became the prime minister, he had to convert to the Anglican Church. Most countries in the world today have national statements, a religious preference. Israel, even if this bill were to pass, which it will not do in its present terms, would be among the most secular, liberal, and democratic countries in the world. So the question always has to be, why is there so much focus on controversies in Israel when virtually every country in the world has similar controversies?
There are controversies outside of Israel, but involving the nation state. Dr. Bard, for example, the UN now overwhelmingly approving a resolution trying to force Israel to surrender any nuclear weapons it might have, or at least place them under international oversight. How concerned should Israel be with this action by the UN?
Well, the UN has been regularly passing literally dozens of resolutions against Israel every year. And when they come from the General Assembly, they have no binding power, and they've really had no impact. The only way you're going to influence Israel is through direct negotiations. And I think the most important thing going on is that there's been a transformation in the conflict between the Jews in Israel and the Arabs and Muslims in the Middle East. In particular, this whole conflict has really shifted from what once was a battle over history and politics and geography to more and more a religious war. We're hearing more and more of this kind of religious rhetoric out of not only Hamas, but also from the PLO.
Dr. Bard, we will have to leave it there. To Alan Dershowitz, the author of the book Terror Tunnels, and to Dr. Mitchell Bard, the author of the work After Anatevka. Gentlemen, we thank you very much for your time.